All right, guys, so this is Monday reading video 1. Last Thursday, we started talking a lot more about William Carlos Williams and what inspired William Carlos Williams. I want you to think back to what inspired him. You have that packet. I don't have one in front of me to show you, but on the back page when we had the visitors, you were writing what things inspired William Carlos Williams. We're going to read, before we get, I'm going to read some more of this book to you because it's got some of his poems on the inside cover. So I'm going to read some of those to you. But first, I want to go over today's learning targets. Those are, we have one learning target, and it's I can describe what inspired my poet to write poetry using evidence from his or her poems. So today, you should have this Lesson 8 questions page passed out to you. And it's got several questions on it. What inspired William Carlos Williams? What poems have we read by William Carlos Williams? What are the characteristics of poetry that this poem had? If you can't remember what characteristics of poetry are on this first bulletin board here with the place value anchor chart, there is one that has all the poems that we read by famous poets. So remember, characteristics of poetry are structure, rhyme and meter, repetition, imagery, and I think that's about it. Remember, structure is the way that a poem looks. Rhyme and meter means does it rhyme? Does it make a beat? Or is it free verse? Repetition, do they have words that repeat? And imagery, does it use words that can make you smell, see, hear, anything that helps you picture what is going on in that poem. So I'm going to read you a couple of these poems. Remember, our big question for our writing prompt is what inspires poets to write poetry? This is something we've been working on since Jack. What inspires poets to write poetry? So we know this answer from William Carlos Williams because we discussed it last week while we had our visitors. But I'm going to read a couple more poems from William Carlos Williams. Metric Figure by William Carlos Williams. There is a bird in the poplars. It is the sun. The leaves are little yellow fish swimming in the river. The bird skims above them. Day is on his wings. Phoebus, it is what that is making. The great gleam among the poplars. It is his singing outshines the noise of leaves clashing in the wind. The Great Figure. Among the rain and lights, I saw the figure 5 in gold on a red fire truck, moving, tents unheeded to gong clangs, siren howls, and wheels rumbling through the dark city. The Red Wheelbarrow. So much depends upon a red wheelbarrow, glazed with rainwater beside the white chickens. Pastoral. The little sparrows hop ingenuously about the pavement, quarreling with sharp voices over these things that interest them. But we, who are the wiser, shut ourselves in on either hand, and no one knows whether we think good or evil. Meanwhile, the old man who goes about gathering dog lime walks in the gutter without looking up. And his tread is more majestic than one of the Episcopal ministers approaching the pulpit on a Sunday. These things astonish me beyond words. Complaint. They call me and I go. It is a frozen road past midnight. A dust of snow caught the rigid wheel tracks. The door opens, I smile, enter, and shake off the cold. So we just read 2, 3, 4, 5 poems. And I want you to think about what inspired William Carlos Williams. Was it his dog, like Jack? What was it? There were certain things that inspired William Carlos Williams that he was very sure that that's why he was going to write poetry. Also, what poems have we read by William Carlos Williams? What characteristics? What is the poem about? And what evidence do you see in the poem of what inspired William Carlos Williams? That is this. The number 4 and number 5 is to answer is to go with poem 6. So on number 6, the poem reads, "This is just to say," you've heard me read this. "This is just to say" by William Carlos Williams. "I have eaten the plums that were in the icebox and which you are probably saving for breakfast. Forgive me. They were delicious, so sweet and so cold." Obviously, that poem's about William Carlos Williams eating plums. But what is the evidence of that? So you want to answer that question here on the back for 6. And you also want to go back and answer question 4 and 5 over that poem. This is just to say. That was reading video number 1. Next up is reading video number 2. Once you have this page done, you may go to reading video number 2 and follow along.